Chapter 12 The Power of Authenticity. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. In a world filled with curated content, filtered images, polished captions, and manicured personal brands, authenticity is more rare and more powerful than ever. We live in an era where anyone can build a platform, but only a few can build trust. And the ones who do, they're not always the most talented or the most entertaining or the most polished. They're the most real. Authenticity is the edge. It's what cuts through the noise, builds loyalty, and creates the kind of influence that lasts. Why authenticity matters more than ever. With billions of voices online, we don't need more content, we need more connection. We don't want to be impressed, we want to feel understood. That's why we follow creators who show the behind the scenes. That's why we trust the entrepreneur who shares the lessons and the losses. That's why we're drawn to the speaker who cries mid-talk and still finds the words to continue. Authenticity creates safety, it creates resonance, and it builds what every influencer is chasing: trust. According to a recent Edelman Trust Barometer, 61% of people said that they are more likely to buy from or follow someone who appears honest and transparent, even if they don't have the best product or message. Authenticity is no longer optional, it's your greatest asset. You don't have to be perfect, just present. Somewhere along the way, many of us bought into the lie that we need to have it all together before we can lead, that we have to wait until we've arrived before we can speak with authority. But the truth is, people don't relate to perfect. They relate to progress. They relate to the entrepreneur who's still building, the parent who's still learning, the curator who's still refining, the human who's still figuring it out. When you show up with honesty instead of polish, you give others permission to do the same, and that permission becomes fuel. Why the highlight reel is overrated. We've all seen it. The feed full of filtered selfies, the perfectly scripted podcast episode, the 5-step framework that makes everything look effortless. But here's what you already know. Life isn't effortless. It's messy, and trying to pretend otherwise is exhausting for you and for your audience. What people want is not your highlight reel. What they want is your story, not the version of you that's always confident, not the version that always has the answers, the real version, the present version, the human version. When you let people into the reality behind the role, something amazing happens. They don't just follow you, they trust you. And trust, that's where influence begins. Continuity of character. One of the best compliments you can receive is, you're the same person in real life as you are online. That's the goal. I'm going to go off script here for a moment. Was at a conference this weekend, and I had a fellow approach me, and he introduced himself and said he's followed me on social media, and was telling me that the thing that he appreciates the most about me is the fact that I'm authentic and real. I mean, yes, my content is, polished, and it's marketed well and edited well and all that, and I have a team that does a really good job on that for me. But what I want to make sure is that we never actually kind of veer into this reality where all I post is highlights and wins and not showing people the reality or the loss. So one of my most my two most I guess viewed or most viral posts, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of interactions on these posts, were both two posts where I was really honest and transparent. One was with my dad passing away and some of the struggles that he and I had as a father-son. But the other one was, just my testimony, my story of going from, having got into trouble in college and being an alcoholic and addicted to all kinds of drugs and, done things. And then, like making the shift where I got rid of all those bad habits and transformed my life, and, all the glory be to God. But, people appreciated that and respected it. So back to the book. When you're content, or when your content, your presence, and your personality are aligned, your brand becomes magnetic because it's real. And when there's alignment, there's freedom. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to remember who you're pretending to be. You don't have to armor up every time you post. You just get to show up, and that trust is enough. That's the power of continuity. It's the glue between your values and your voice. Authenticity doesn't mean unfiltered. Let's be clear. Authenticity doesn't mean saying everything you think. It doesn't mean oversharing or emotional dumping. It doesn't mean blurting out your insecurities in a way that feels performative. Authenticity is not raw, it's real and intentional. It means telling the truth even when it's messy, sharing the process, not just the polish, leading with values instead of vanity, owning your voice even when it doesn't sound like everyone else's. Authenticity doesn't mean you tell all, it means you tell the truth. Be who you actually are. Off script here, I wish we didn't have to talk about this, but in today's day and age, we just do. We spend so much time trying to stand out that we forget the fastest way to do it is to be yourself. There is only one you. No one else lived your story, fought your battles, developed your lens, or carries your voice. So when you try to fit a mold, imitate a trend, or shrink into what you think your audience wants, you dilute the very thing that makes you magnetic. If people are going to reject you, let them reject you. Not some version of you that you think they'll accept, because if they say yes to that version, you'll always be performing. But when people follow the real you, you're free. My final thought. So authenticity is not just a feel good principle. It's a leadership posture. It's what allows you to build trust at scale, to influence without manipulation, and to show up fully, speak clearly, and serve deeply. It's not always easy. It requires courage. It means you'll be misunderstood at times. It means you'll have to be honest with yourself before you can be honest with others. But it's worth it.